All right, let's jump into Sunday's games and, of course, the Monday game here. And we start with the Broncos at the Bills. Another big favorite here for the Bills. They're 8.5-point favorites against Denver. The over-under higher in this one, 46.5, not only because of how potent Josh Allen and co are, but also the fact the Bills' defense have given up enough points this year. Let's hear from Josh Allen on just how much of a tough matchup this is against that strong Denver defense.
Yeah, I think we're just taking it. You got to put one foot in front of the other. It's a team that came in here last year and they beat us. We know that. We understand that. It's a very good team. They're well coached. Their defensive line is one of the best in the league. They got a couple guys outside that can absolutely go. Obviously, look at Surtain, one of the best corners in the game. We're going to have our hands full. So, again, we're just trying to put one foot in front of the other, take it day by day and have a good week of practice, and then try to go out there and execute on Sunday.
No surprise here, Matthew. Josh Allen priced at 8,200, and then a pretty steep cliff after that in this one.
Well, 9 rushing touchdowns in his last 7 games for Josh Allen. If you're paying up a quarterback, this is an area where I would want to go. Over 28 fantasy points per game for him. Shakir is really interesting there at 5,300. 10 straight games with at least 6 or more targets, 25% target share for Shakir. He plays the slot. He's going to avoid Pat Surtain. I do think he is somebody that, they spread it around so much. But Shakir feels like one of the guys that at least there's a floor there in terms of his usage. The rest of the ancillary pass catchers for the Bills is just sort of can. Same. I feel the same way about the Broncos running backs. But I do think that if you're in a large scale tournament, if you're not playing like just a smaller tournament, but if you're in a GPP on DraftKings, if you're in like a big thing, well, you're looking for variance, and so that's where I think people will avoid the Bills pass catchers. I think people will avoid the Broncos running backs because of that, because there's such uncertainty. And, when you're in those large field tournaments, that's what you want, is you want lineups that aren't going to be duplicated.
Yeah, and that's when you want those. When you have those, you want guys like Marvin Mims. You want him as your third wide receiver, right? It's 4 receiving touchdowns in his last 2 games. And then you look at Bo Nix, 9 touchdown passes, 1 interception his last 3 games. Albeit against the Chiefs in Week 18, that was their backups, but still, Bo Nix went toe-to-toe with Burrow. He had a good game against the Chargers here. So I think, and you mentioned it, Connor, you mentioned the Bills' defense down the stretch they just been giving it up on the back end. They're good up front and in the front 7, but on the back end, they can be had.
Yep. The one thing with the Broncos, too, is that with Patrick Surtain, who I think I've watched every one of his snaps the past 2 months because I'm sickeningly invested in him to win Defensive Player of the Year. But the thing with Surtain is that as much as he is a shutdown corner, he doesn't really trail guys for the whole time. Like when he played Jamar Chase, which was the big marquee matchup, Chase v. Surtain. Yeah, Surtain was on him, but it was on him for like 77% of the routes. Like he doesn't follow everywhere, he doesn't usually go into the slot, and it's not as relevant with the Bills because they don't have the one guy that you want to shut down. But I wouldn't be thinking like, oh, Surtain's definitely going to go to Amari Cooper, and Amari Cooper is a 0 in this game. Like he does move around.
Jay, what about the line in this one? 8.5. We heard it from Josh Allen. This Denver defense, they're stout up front. They have the best cover corner in the game. It's not disrespectful because the Bills are that great of a team, but I've been on Denver since this launched, and I'm actually surprised it hasn't moved.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and I'm just interested to see how the Broncos offense is able to perform if they do get behind. Now, Bo Nix was awesome against Kansas City, but that wasn't really a real game of football with just playing the backups. It was just all so easy. So interested to see how he does playing from behind. Now, he did come from behind against the Bengals and force overtime and played, I think, okay in that game. But I think it just all depends on, like, how good do you think the Broncos defense is? Do you think this is like a best in the league type of defense? Or is it more just, your standard solid top 5 type of defense? And I think how one's opinion varies on that will determine whether they keep this close.
The Broncos defense has played very well this year, but they haven't played a lot of tough games. The Broncos don't really have like a bunch of like signature wins where you're like, man, they went into Baltimore and they killed the Ravens. You know what I mean? They don't have a lot of
But they got killed that game.
No, exactly. But that's my point. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, the Broncos have beaten up on a lot of bad teams, and that's what you should do. But like, they played a last place schedule.
You could argue the loss to the Chiefs the first time they played was maybe the best game.
Their best
Correct.
Game.
Their best game.
That
was a loss.
Because they lost on the blocked field goal, which was like a fluky play.
To outright win the game, who do y'all like more to have an upset between either the Broncos or the Steelers?
I like the Broncos because of Sean Payton. I think Sean Payton will know how to attack this Buffalo defense. Now, am I confident they could stop Josh Allen and company? No, it's the reason it's an 8.5 point line.
I would say this. Between those two, I'd actually say the Steelers because it's a division game. They've already beaten the Ravens once before. We have certainly seen Lamar choke in the playoffs or perform under expectations. And so, and you're right. Like, anytime you've got somebody like T.J. Watt on your team that can just completely disrupt a game, like he's that guy. I'll say that I actually think there are better choice. If you're asking me, give me one upset this weekend for Wild Card Weekend. Like, I think there are better choices, honestly.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.